All right, welcome back. And we are seated. When you're seated, it's about to get down on matters entrepreneurship. And this morning, we are talking about trade unions. And it's something interesting because I'm just made to understand that KUTV is more than 80 years old. It's even older than Kenya. And to help us understand its mandate, what it is, because I know most of you do not even understand what it is. You just know of the unions that you see their leaders or their secretary generals regularly on media stations or giving out presses. But today we want to understand something interesting with KUTV here. We are joined by Mr. KAMUYE, who is the first Assistant Secretary General and Administrator of KUTV Workers Union. And we are also joined by NYAKIO, who is a public health professional and, of course, an enthusiast of trade unions in the country. They'll be helping us understand how KUTV works and what more is onto it, or what is really deep into this conversation that we are having this morning, just to make you understand that KUTV is a union that collectively it has teachers, medical practitioners, the hotels and everything in between. So allow me have the guests introduce themselves to you before I butcher anything. Let me have the guests introduce themselves to you. Karibu sana to our studios this morning. And today, let me begin with ladies first.
Thank you.
Mercy, please give us an introduction.
My name is NYAKIO, with a public health background, but currently I'm the Deputy Secretary General of KUTV, representing the hospital sector. So with time, you'll realize that all the leaders who will come on board are representing different sectors. And I'm so glad to be here, looking forward to the engagement.
Karibu sana to our studios this morning. Yeah.
Thank you, my sister. Allow me first of all to introduce myself. My name is Brother KAMUYE Justin. I told you it's only in church and in unions that we call each other brother and sister. First of all, before anything else, allow me to submit the greetings of our able SG. The SG for KUTV Workers Union is Brother Albert Njeru. We are here on his behalf and on behalf of the board and the secretariat. Allow me also to thank KUTV. I understand you are 11 years old, and we want to appreciate you for the good work you are doing. We are here just because we want to forge a partnership. We want to walk this journey. This journey is starting today, and through you, as we walk together, you'll help us tell Kenyans, inform the good people of this republic about what we do, specifically KUTV Workers Union. I'm the first Assistant Secretary General of the union, as well as the union's administrator. Thank you.
Now that you're the first administrator, I think you're best suited to tell us what KUTV is, what it stands for, and of course, what are your mandates in the country?
Thank you so very much. I'll first of all say KUTV is an abbreviation that simply means the Kenya Union of Domestic Hotels, Education Institutions, and Hospital Workers. It is an affiliate of the Central Organization of Trade Unions, which is led by none other than Papa Francis Atwoli. All of us are aware. So this union is one of the oldest trade unions. It is the oldest because it was founded in the 1940s, about 1942. And it was founded by the domestic servants associations. Remember, my sister, that time we had the colonial masters. So these colonial masters actually employed domestic servants. And these domestic servants were not comfortable. They were not actually enjoying the decent work environment. They were getting into problems. And this common problem made them to come together, so that in unity they could now be able to pursue their rights. So that's how this union was founded, the Domestic Servants Association, which is why we respect a lot the domestic servants. I'm sure. I don't know whether you have one at home. Those are people we celebrate. They are our heroes because they are the foundation of this union. So this union was founded in the 1940s, and about in 1951, remember there was the colonial government. There was a system that now led to registration of this union as a domestic workers union. And of course, all along, the union has actually indulged in mandate to recruit members, recruit workers and make them members of the union, because there's a difference between workers and union members. Mm-hmm. So union members are those who sign up to join the union. So the workers, actually members from different sectors, the domestic sectors, the hotel sectors, when they are recruited, the union has a mandate to ensure that they are organized. Mm-hmm. To organize is to bring order, to bring them together, because you cannot execute your mandate well if your group is disjointed. So the first thing you do is you assemble, you bring them together through organizing. And of course, after organizing, there's also the aspect of representation. Mm-hmm. Representation, of course, as we move along, you discover it happens at different levels. Representation right at place of work, representation through negotiation of terms of service, representation even up to the level of the court, and of course, promotion of the rights and the welfare of these members of the union, not just general workers, specifically those who have joined the union. Mm-hmm. So it's a long journey, but basically just to set us off, that is what KUTV is, an affiliate of KOTU, and representing the domestic hotels education institution workers who are members, and actually to ensure that they are organized, they are represented, and actually among other factors, which we'll explain.
Mm-hmm. Now let me come back to you, Sister Mercy, now that we are into sisters and brothers. Coming from a health background, are there other roles that KUTV plays apart from just solving workers' problems? Because primarily I believe that is the reason why most unions are formed, to address their pressing issues. Now with KUTV, are there other roles that it plays beyond just solving problems?
I don't want to say it's unfortunate, but what most people know about trade unions is from strikes. And I think you also alluded to it, that we've only come to know some of the trade unions because most of the times it's a strike issue. But trade unions do most work, or most of their work is behind the scenes, other than now the presser. And part of our mandate, adding to what you had said, organizing and recruiting, we also train our members on their labor rights, and also emerging trends that are coming up in the world of work. Because currently we have globalization, we have digitalization, we really have a lot of things, climate change. So it is also part of our roles to train our members on how to work within the changes, and also to embrace the changes. So we have the trainings. We also handle trade disputes and grievances, and we also negotiate for their labor rights, and also working conditions at the places of work. And we also create an industrial relation or harmony between employers and employees, because from our end, we always say, yes, members, trade union is not about the topmost leader. It's not about our secretary general or our board, but it's like a pyramid scheme. So the base being the member. So the moment the membership is messed up with, we really don't have the secretary general. We really don't have this board or this structure. So our aim is ensuring that our members are protected. And our members being protected, it also means there is a good working relationship between the employer and the employee. Because if we mess up with the employer's duty, or if our work we train our members to maybe sabotage the issues of the employer, these members can lose employment, and then the whole structure crumbles down. So part of our role is ensuring that there is a good working relation between the employer and the employee, and also now, as they are working together, also the rights of the employee is also being looked at. Yes.
Now, I have thought of a case where we are having domestic workers getting to different countries, and the most popular one is Saudi Arabia, and
Yes.
those such countries. Are they also, if they register as members, most probably the employers are not part of the union. So when a problem comes out of that engagement, how do you solve that now that the employer is not a member of the union?
We also deal with migrant workers, or we also have members who are migrant workers, either already in the destination countries or those that have already worked there and also come back, or what we call, we refer to as return migrant workers. And we have an association for the migrant workers in Kenya. It's called KUTV, Domestic Migrant Workers Association. So with the association, or with the migrant now domestic workers, what we do is we create a channel, especially now if there's there's an issue, example that you've given in Saudi Arabia. Our member is employed in a certain house in Saudi Arabia. She gets a challenge. Already there is a communication challenge, a communication channel that she'll get back to us. And we've had cases, a lot of successful cases where we've represented members who are working in the different destination countries and has been successful. We've also been able to repatriate some of our members from the destination countries. So, and also now in labor migration in Kenya, we have something that we call the bilateral labor agreements. So even with these bilateral labor agreements, we ensure that the labor issue of our members or workers are also addressed in those agreements. And part of that is also training people or members that are going to these countries about their rights, on what you're supposed to look out for before you migrate, which is the right agent that you're supposed. How do you find the right agent? How do you identify that the contract that you're signing is the right contract? How do you identify that the contract that you're actually signing is the one that they will give you once you get to the destination country? So also with the migrant workers, what we work with is ensuring that the worker is fully informed about what they're going to get on the ground. So yeah.
It makes me think of this saying that in the Bible, that my people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge, because I believe that if most Kenyans would have known about this union, their life would be much easier when it comes to adversities that they face when they're out of the country. But now let me come back to you, Brother KAMUYE. When does a dispute come from being a situation where it is solved internally and now it's going to the labor courts? What determines the intensity of the same?
Thank you so much. There are two categories. The first category, the first phase, we call it a grievance. And of course, the second category is the dispute. So before we get into a dispute, first of all, we must have a grievance. A grievance is a complaint raised by a worker, maybe regarding his work, maybe regarding the terms and conditions. I'll give you an example of a worker in a public secondary school who has not earned, a worker who has not been given sufficient tools. So he's not able to discharge his mandate. So he starts complaining. In Kiswahili we talk of kunungunika. So he starts grumbling, these work tools are not effective. So at that stage, we encourage that can he get in touch with the immediate supervisor, who is, let's say, the school bazaar. So we encourage that if the two can be able to solve and the problems facing this worker are dealt with, then we say we thank God. If it's not solved, it escalates to the level where it is brought to the attention of the school manager, the principal, who is also now supposed to look into this issue, solve the problem. Let's say it is a dismissal, some warning, some allegations of wrongs that have been committed. So if it fails to be arrested at that stage between the school manager and this worker, it's supposed to actually be brought to the attention of the branch. We are assuming this is a union member. It is still a grievance. So it gets to a level whereby the branch, specific branch, let's say if one is in Isiolo County, the Isiolo County branch of KUTV indulges in the matter to try and solve. So where it is not able to be solved, it's reported to the head office, and immediately the Secretary General writes to the Cabinet Secretary, the Ministry of Labor. Then it changes now from a grievance and becomes a trade dispute. So this trade dispute is now brought to the attention of the Cabinet Secretary, who now invokes sections of the law, appoints a county conciliator, county labor officer. The county labor officer is supposed to conciliate. The law has given this labor officer time to call parties. Now remember, it's now a trade dispute. So if the county labor officer fails to conciliate, if there's no agreement between these parties after 2 or 3 meetings, then this county labor officer, by operation of the law, issues the parties with a certificate of unresolved trade dispute. So it is at that juncture that now the trade union, in this context, KUTV, now we hold this certificate and now make a claim in court. We file a claim in the Employment and Labor Relations Court, where this worker was working. If he was working in Homa Bay, for example, then we go to the nearest station, that is Kisumu. If this worker was working in Kibwezi, so we have to look at the nearest Employment Labor Relations Court. We file the claim, we serve the respondent, and of course the case management procedures are undertaken. And the court hears and determines this matter.
In a Kenyan setup, I would imagine that for you to go ahead with a case, you'd want to give a lot of money in terms of giving to lawyers and all that. Is that the same case when it comes to the disputes that are solved under KUTV?
Thank you. It's a very brilliant question, and thank you for asking that question. Now, one of the ideas why trade unions was formed is that the workers who are being represented, most of them could be vulnerable. They may be in a position, they may not be able to raise the legal fees required by council, by the legal fraternity, let's say to pursue suits before the courts of law. So when members join the union, they pay a premium. This premium is what we call the union dues. So one of the reasons why the union dues are paid on a monthly basis, and thank God we are informing good Kenyans, is that where we have a problem, let's say unfair termination has occurred, so this member simply needs to inform the union takes up the matter, and based on the membership subscriptions, because union membership is serviced through payment of subscriptions, and they're paid on monthly basis. So the union will utilize this pool of resources to pay for all the legal costs. So we take over these matters. We do not now allow this member to shoulder the costs. So it becomes manageable. Remember, it's a pool. Yes.
I'm thinking of that pool in a business perspective, because I'm thinking if I'm paying premiums, is it like a form of insurance or something like that?
Now, it is they pay 2% of their pay on a monthly basis. So when one of us has a problem, let's say you have a problem and you are a member of the union, I may not be having a problem. My sister here may not be having a problem. So the union now spreads the risk. You know, there's the aspect of spreading the risk so that it becomes lighter. So the chances of all workers getting into problems are minimal. But those who get into problems, the union takes over and actually pursues these matters in court. And maybe for your information, trade unions under the Employment Labor Relations Court Act, there's a provision, a window where union officials and or officers are allowed by law to go before the Employment Labor Relations Court and prosecute matters. The two of us have been allowed by the SG Our names have been forwarded to the registrar of the ELRC. So we are mandated. We handle court issues for and on behalf of our members, so that instead of them going in person, the union undertakes the exercise, which could be very expensive. Suppose they fail to get a pro bono advocate, it becomes expensive. So, but when they are members of the union, it's manageable. It feels better.
Well, that's very interesting. It brings me to the question now, Machi, Sister Mercy, because we if I am having 2% of my salary being given to the union, that means that there are some form of risk that maybe I foresee. So from your perspective, are there sectors in the sectors that the union represents that you see the problems that they're having more than other sectors, or generally what are the problems that your workers face in the different sectors that you represent?
I think the most vulnerable sector is the domestic sector. Because first, these workers don't have contracts. We still view them as informal workers. Yes, they form the most bit of employment in Kenya, but they're still not yet recognized. And that's why as a union, we've been pushing for the ratification of the International Labour Organization Convention 189, which is purely decent work for domestic workers. Because with the ratification of this instrument, it will ensure that the domestic workers are recognized first as workers. Because the same way I'm going to work at 8 a.m., I'm also leaving someone working at home. So this worker is also entitled to all the rights that I'm also enjoying. That means all the leaves that I can get, this worker is also entitled to it. The minimum that is set in the Employment Act, the 21 days annual leave, this domestic worker is also supposed to enjoy that. The maternity leave, the 90 days, she's also supposed to enjoy that. But because of the nature of the informality, or maybe because we don't recognize them as normal workers, you'll find that if a domestic worker is supposed to proceed on maternity leave, the option is, if you're leaving, make sure you give me someone else. So when I'm going for my maternity leave as a domestic worker, first of all, I'll not be paid. Yet the Employment Act says I'm supposed to, it is a full pay leave. So the 90 days I'm going, yes, but I'll not be paid. And also my job security, I don't have a job security. There's no chance, or there's minimal chance that I can come back. Or if I'm coming back, it's because someone else was holding that gap for me. So I don't have a pay. The annual leave, the 21 days, there's an interesting conversation I was having with someone in Matatu. And I don't know even how we started this conversation, but we were talking about now the domestic workers. And she mentioned, are they supposed to go for the 21 days? I said, are they a worker? Yes. Why can't they go for the annual leave? Because they don't, for them, they're just at home. No, they work. They're also workers. The law recognizes them as workers. So even with the 21 days, it's supposed to be on full pay. Now, the 1 day, the Employment Act also says that I'm supposed to have a 1 day off within the 7 days. It's so clear the employer can choose which day it is. That one, the employer has the liberty. But then within the 7 days, I'm supposed to have a 1 day off. But you see, for the domestic worker, what happens, it will be on a Sunday, but we will go with you to church. You'll be the one who is responsible for the kids. When we come back, you'll have to cook. Or in the morning, make sure you've cooked all the meals. You see, that one is not a day off. So the main challenge, or the sector that has most challenges, is the domestic sector. And purely because it's still recognized as just, a helping position at home. Yet it's still a work. It's still work.
They even call you auntie.
Or which is so unfortunate, mboch. Actually, someone asked me, mbona nipatie mboch yo pesa mob? Why not? Are they not a worker? Are they not helping you? If they decide to leave, you see with what happens during the December holidays, you'll always see how employers of these domestic workers realize how important this domestic worker is, because you're not so sure if atarudi ama atarudi. And now there is the domestic sector, and now this other sector, the term contracts, the short-term contracts that we are experiencing, it's really a challenge. You'll find someone is employed in January, they've been given a 3-month contract. This employee who is on contract, you'll see that they'll not be put on any social protection provision, because you're just here. They will term it as a probation period, which is not, because this employee is still working. This is happening in now hotels, hospital, and also education institution. And now, currently, we are having hotels employing students as interns. And you're being told you're just learning. But you're doing the work that is supposed to be done in that hotel. Like, we don't have a full-time employed cook in that place, but we have an intern. And this intern will only maybe be given 2,000 for transport in a month. This intern will be told, you're not supposed to join a union, because after all, you're just a student. So when it comes to representing these workers, we also face a challenge of, if I get you into a union and this employer does not recognize you as a worker, what happens? I'm also putting you at a risk of, if the employer knows that you're in a union, they'll not renew your contract. So you see those challenges. The job insecurity or precarious work has really increased in our nation, with unfortunately with the government also setting the precedence of, we are supposed to employ workers at contracts, which is not right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's very interesting, because it's a very huge percentage, especially in education institutions. KU are also victims, but let's not go into that. Now, because I'm being told that time is really not on our side, I'd like for you to tell us, Brother KAMUYE, the rights that you find most people misunderstand, especially for employers and employees, the rights that you feel like they really misunderstand.
Okay. Allow me to quote a quote by the director of ILO, Brother Gilbert, the former Prime Minister for Togo. He says that if workers are not able to get decent work, if they're not able to get decent work, then what happens? They lose the confidence to build on their future. Now, there's the concept of decent work. Decent work is just a combination of the following. One, fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are basic rights. Let me give you an example. The right to earn your salary. And that is where the rain start beating us, because if you look at the economic occurrences, they become so unbearable that the only hope we have as workers is, am I going to get my pay? You look at the issues of inflation, the only hope we have is that, am I going to get my pay? So it is all defeated if we fail to get the pay. So there are fundamental rights like the right to fair labor practices, where we expect workers to report and work for moderate hours. The standard hours are 8 hours, unless if the parties negotiate as CBN regulate otherwise. The right to earn that salary, the right to get the leaves, so that one is able to embrace the work-life balance. So much of the rights that are actually violated is the issues of job protection. Most employers indulge in unfair labor practices where they separate with the employees in a very unhonorable way. Because the law requires that if I've worked for you and now you feel like the end has come, can we be modest? Can we embrace some procedure? But there are these employers who wake up today and they kick out workers. they throw out their workers, and without even following the correct procedure. And even after the separation, they do not go further to do what the law requires. There's a difference. You can follow what the law says to make it modest. There's also the issue of job creation. We advocate for a stronger private sector that can be able to create opportunities for the young people. Look at the nation where we are. You discover most young people are not having their jobs. Mm-hmm. But if we have a strong private sector, we'll be sure that they have the jobs. The issue of collective bargaining. Mm-hmm. Collective bargaining is where we sit together. And this, we call upon the private sector to be serious about some things. Mm-hmm. Because if we have been making profits January to December, it is also fair that we sit down and discover that the workers played a significant role, because labor is the most significant agent of production. Mm-hmm. So can we negotiate and agree on the terms that will enhance their pay, give them a better commuter allowance, give them a better housing allowance, give them more leave days, mm-hmm. so that they are able to be more productive. And also, of course, the issue of social security. There are basic issues like even compliance with the statutory requirements of remittance of NSSF. There are employers who fail to do that, and which is why upon retirement you discover an employee, he gets into old age poverty. Poverty that is experienced after work. They are not mm-hmm. able to even meet their basic needs. Mm-hmm. So which is why as a union we advocate and call upon the employers to go and look at provisions of the Constitution, that is Article 41, that encourages that can workers join the trade unions. It is sad to say there are principals like in the public secondary schools who are members of KUPET, members of KNUT. Some of them are even holding positions. But they are the same people who get back to schools and toss our members left and right, quarrel our members on why they have joined trade unions. Mm-hmm. So then something is wrong somewhere. Mm-hmm. If we cannot just acknowledge the fact that there's a right to join, a right to associate, a right to join an association of one's choice, and a union is an association of workers. So then it means that these are the people we expect that they should be driving this agenda. Mm-hmm. But they're the same people who engage in rogue practices. So we call them to order, and we request them that do to others what you expect others to do unto you.
All right.
The golden rule.
All right. Now, Sister Mercy, I'd like for you to conclude this for us, because time is not really on our side. To avoid conflicts with employers, especially when the employee does something wrong at workplace, tell us how an employer can go about this situation. Of course, not to kukuwe na mgwaruzano na the union and the employer.
Brother KAMUYE mentioned or gave a guideline on how trade grievances or disputes are handled. And you see, the good thing with Kenya, we have a tripartite agreement, which comprises of the government, which is now the Ministry of Labor, and now FK, which represent the employers, and KOTU, which is a trade union for employees. We always work like that as a tripartite body, mm-hmm. and we encourage social dialogue. So even as a union, as KUTV, what we do, the collective bargaining agreements that we do, it's an agreement between workers through the union and now the management. And you see, with this agreement, what we are setting is how we are supposed to relate with employees. So the moment there is something that we are not aligning ourselves with the agreement, the first thing always will be from the union side is to request for a meeting to get to understand what is the gap that we are not feeling, or what is the challenge that we are having. And we've always encouraged that social dialogue, just to get to understand what are you understanding that you're not understanding, or what are we understanding that you're not understanding, and how can we resolve the issue. So most of the time you'll find us dialoguing, and especially for KUTV, it's so rare to find us on the street, because through our Secretary General, we always believe we can always first sit down. And the moment now we can't totally agree, the moment your disagreement is your part and also maybe our disagreement is our part, that's when maybe you'll see us on the roads, which is so rare. Because for us, social dialogue is always the first and it's always the main thing. So we also encourage the employers, if there is any challenge that you see, like yesterday we were in a meeting in one of the institutions whereby the management were not able to understand what's going on with the works committee or what the union role is. And then they just called us for a meeting just to get to understand what is the challenge, what is the main challenge. And with this social dialogue also, we get to learn about the institution and also they get to learn about the union. So even from the employer side, the trade unions are not the enemies. We're actually trying to promote a good working relationship between the worker and the employer. And as I said earlier, if the institution is messed up with, we also don't have members. We don't celebrate in having members being declared redundant. We don't celebrate in having members complaining about issues. Our aim is, even as we are training the members on their labor rights, we are also training them on how to work best in that institution, to make that institution a better place, because if it's growing, it also means their terms and also salaries are also growing. So yeah.
All right. This has been a very interesting ride. Thank you so much, Sister Mercy. And Brother Kamuye for making time for us this morning, representatives from the top leadership of KUTV. And just so you know, we shall be having a series of these discussions. Today we were just giving an introduction of what KUTV is, what its mandate is, and what it does for its members. If you don't know about the members, if you're a teacher, you have someone who's working at home for you. They're not teachers, so they cannot join KUPPET. They have their own union. So if you're not in a specific professional line that you can join a specific union that we are always hearing about, you know, we have KUPPET, we have for nurses union, KMPDU, and you're not sure where to join, KUTV is there for you and it shall represent you well. In